Friends, we need to talk about college. Now, I majored in anthropology with a concentration in archaeology, and one of my professors offered us extra credit if we assisted him with one of his research projects. Our job was to recreate Paleolithic beads made out of soapstone so he could do some tests on them. Hours of time, so much time spent carving soapstone. For some reason, we didn't have any chairs in the office. And so we all had to sit on the floor that was covered in, talc and sharp, flinty bits of napped stone. And there was also, little containers filled with urine because they were also trying to figure out how Paleolithic people worked with, ivory. And, they didn't smell, but you were still sitting in a room with something that had been sitting in urine for, 14 years. Anthropology. Now, I couldn't get my hands on some freshly napped stone tools for this video, but I was able to source soapstone. And for you, my gentle viewers, I would like to see if I can remember how to make a soapstone bead in the Paleolithic basket style. Now, don't worry, I have not actually done any research to try to refresh my memory on this. This is just after 12 years away from anthropology. And then we'll take it to the slides to see how close I was. I would like to reiterate, however, that it has been 12 years since I made one of these beads. I'm old. It doesn't look like it, but soapstone, when it's polished up, is actually very beautiful. It's a very soft stone. It's easily carved with a stone tool or metal tools. It can range in color anywhere from a light pale color to a dark green or gray. It's very powdery because it's primarily made out of talc. Talc, you might know, is mixed with cornstarch to make baby powder. You'll also find talc in a lot of cosmetics and other things that we use in day-to-day life. So the first thing I did to cheat was I used my Dremel drill to make a rectangular-ish blank for the bead carving. So I took this to something like this. Now, to be fair, back when I was making these beads in the anthropology department, our professor did allow us to use hacksaws to make the blanks to begin with. So we were allowed to cheat then. I don't feel so bad about cheating now. Now kids, remember, don't drill soapstone at home, but if you must, wear a construction mask that will filter out the talc powder. I will be paying for that mistake in 30 years. Also remember, if you borrow your parents' drill, the powder will get everywhere, so do it outside, like I should have done in Flushing, or have access to a driveway that's outside and isn't my tiny bathroom in my apartment that doesn't have any windows. I think I still have talc powder in my hair. For cheating purposes, I will be using this brick to grind this blank down to the shape and size I require. Look, we're grading this on a curve, okay? I feel so connected to my ancestors right now. If only they knew of the amazing properties of brick. So, how are things going in the Midwest? Any good podcasts you guys are listening to nowadays? You know, I hear there's this great one where they read all these apocalyptic fiction in chronological order. I think it's called the Apocalypse Book Club or something. You should really check it out. So how about that sports ball? I really like how that one team did the thing and then won. Except for that time that other team did the thing and lost. How could they? Okay, no, I swear, we're almost there. I'm getting such a beautiful rectangle shape, you guys, you have no idea. Okay, so while she's working on the bead, I want to talk to you about maps. Now, the basket-style bead I learned how to carve was found at a French archaeological site called Ambry-Blancard. It comes from the Aurignacian archaeological tradition of Eurasia, which would have ranged from 37,000 years ago to about 33,000 years ago. Very upper Paleolithic. So let's talk Eurasia during the Paleolithic. We're gonna draw up some Spain over here, and then up into France, and then we've got Italy dipping down here. God, I'm so sorry, Italy. That's a terrible boot. Hang on, I gotta fix this. Okay, all right, I think I fixed it. I am now going to attempt to draw Sicily. I guess if I'm drawing Sicily, I should throw Corsica and Sardinia in there as well. Corsica, Sardinia. Now we can move on to Greece. And we dip down into the Levant, and then up back over the Nile, coming up strong towards Gibraltar. And can't forget the Black Sea. Very important. Gotta get that Mediterranean up in here. It looks terrible. But there is a reason why everything looks so blocky, and the reason is glaciers. I am now going to draw in the glaciers. Alright, so it's gonna be weird, but the glacier is green. All this was just a giant sheet of ice. Over in like the Alps, you had like another glacier, and then in the Pyrenees, you had another glacier, and then actually I think that's about all the glaciers you had. So the Aurignacian culture was found throughout Spain, up into what is France, down into what is Italy, and then down into what's also Greece. Then it comes up around the Black Sea, and then, and this is a little strange, you get this like spit of it also in the Levant. And so the pink is where that culture, where it thrived, where you find very similar art, where you find the Venus figurines, where you find cave art, cave paintings, wooden sculptures, things of a very similar nature, as well as a very similar stone tool technology. And that is the area that the bead I'm making hails from. And that's it. That's the sort of range of the early modern humans that I'm referring to when I refer to Aurignacian culture. So why don't we hop back over and see how she's doing with that bead. So this is a pretty good rectangular shape to start with. Now the next process will be to actually trim down the edges and leaving a bulbous end, because it's a basket. So let's just shave down those sides, why don't we? Again, this is not what we would have done, but beggars can't be choosers, especially when they didn't bother to learn how to nap stone in college. Like a smart person. That would have been great, yeah. So what you learned in school today, Antonella? Well, I learned how to nap stone tools. I mean, if it was good enough for the Australopithecines, I don't see why I should think myself any better than they. Look, stone technology. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, just to keep things simple, Paleolithic just means Old Stone Age. Its parameters are that stone tools are being created and used by hominins. So it technically begins around 3.4 million years ago. However, if you're just interested in Homo sapiens or the modern human, that Stone Age begins around 300,000 years ago. I personally was more into the Neolithic or New Stone Age period, because that starts around 12,000 years ago, and that's when humans started domesticating plants and animals. Oh boy, I hope you all like some disease with the fall of the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Do you want smallpox? Because domesticating animals is how you get smallpox. But now we farm, so have fun with that population boom that then can lead to massive starvation. Yeah, and I hope you didn't actually want your teeth, because once we start eating the sugars that are found in grains, this just goes to hell. But hey, you're gonna have yogurt and cheese, and don't forget alcohol. So thanks, Neolithic humans. Did I mention the disease? So one thing that's not going to be terribly apparent to you folks at home is just how small these beads were. They were minuscule. I'm kind of making a big version right now just because I've It's been a while, and it does take a bit of finesse to get them that small. So it was supposed that bead making fell mostly to people with smaller hands, like children. Then again, considering that not many people lived to very old ages, I mean, who else was going to make the beads? Step 2, making the hole. As you can see, I have shaped the sides to be thinner, and we've got a bulbous end there, and the next part is going to be drilling a hole right in the center there. Now again, don't have any stone tools on me, so this screwdriver tip will suffice. My professor was adamant that we weren't to use a screwing motion like this, because that's not what was found on the beads that he was researching. If you looked at them under a microscope, it was a very clear scraping motion like that, up and down. A drilling motion like this in a rotation, it's very natural for us modern humans. That took me a while to not do incorrectly. The trick is to get as close to the basket area as you can, so you get a nice deep hole without too much of a stem here, because what you actually want is something with a very, very small stem. I really can't believe how much faster this is with modern metal tools. This is a revelation for me. Hours spent in the anthropology department. And we're scraping. I think I need new chairs. It's very squeaky. So you're probably wondering to yourself, Nella, why archaeology? And no, it wasn't because of the Indiana Jones movies, even though, yes, I grew up with those and I really loved them and I thought they were great. No, the reason I became an archaeologist was because of Disney's Pocahontas. Let me explain. We went to Disney World a lot. And one of my favorite things to do back then was to go on the animation tour at Disney's MGM Studios, now known as Hollywood Studios. Oh, I lived for that behind the scenes nonsense. They made such a big deal about sneak peeks for the next big Disney animated films. And then they would show concept art and sketches and storyboards. That tour made me really, really want to become an animator. And in the early 90s, I was hyped about Disney's Pocahontas. To be fair, Disney pushed that movie, and I don't even remember them pushing Hunchback as hard. And they pushed Hunchback. Yeah, now I can look back and see how badly the Disney company wanted Pocahontas to be a kind of high culture watermark for them. So the year is 1995, and at the time I had a Disney Adventures magazine subscription. Big spread, interviews with all the actors, interviews with the animators, storyboard art, concept art, and everyone keeps going on and on about how proud they are to have worked on Disney's Pocahontas and of all the hard work and research that went into it. And that was that thing. They kept pointing out how much they'd done. And if that was enough, there was also a nationwide animation tour for Disney's Pocahontas. It came to my mall, the Smith Haven Mall in Lake Grove. I was there. They had animators drawing Miko and Flit, and they had a reproduction of the Susan Constant. There were promotional cards. I collected them all. I was a snooty history kid growing up. I was the kind of kid who'd read ahead in the social studies history book and then get mad because Plymouth got all the glory instead of Jamestown, which came first. There was just something about, oh, they came here for money instead of religion that just really made more sense to me than Plymouth. I was ready for this movie. And yeah, I thought it was weird that they aged her up so there could be a romance. I thought it was strange that no one was talking about the fact that in real life she died at 20 in England because of disease. And also, once I saw the movie, I thought it was really weird that they implied that maybe the starving winter didn't actually happen because John Smith and Pocahontas convinced everyone to get along. But I was 10 and white, so I just kind of let that all slide because I liked the music and I thought it was pretty. Nella, what does this have to do with archaeology? I'm getting to it. But it wasn't enough just to see the movie and to read all the articles where Disney claimed they put all this work into being at least historically appropriate. No, I wanted to go there, to Jamestown. I wanted to see it for myself. So, one summer, we took a family vacation to Williamsburg, Virginia. Oh, I'll never forget that summer. The visit to Busch Gardens, the day at Water Country, USA, and that day trip to Jamestown that my cousins still give me grief about. The site was, well, it was a historical reenactment with an ongoing archaeological excavation happening. To my cousins, it was really boring. But to me, it was revelatory. It didn't look like the Disney movie at all. And in the distance, I could see these people. They were moving dirt and they seemed to be carrying trowels and things. Those people were archaeologists. They had found so much stuff related to the original fort, which until 1994, everyone thought had washed into the James River. But it was there. And now, more than 20 years after they began that initial excavation, they have found out more about the initial colony than you could ever imagine. Like, okay, there was this one burial, right? One kid, about 14 to 15 years old, and he's buried in this really irregular grave. It's just not quite the right size for him, and his arm's all akimbo, and his collarbone is broken, and there's an arrowhead in what would have been the fleshy part of his leg resting just up against his femur. And of course you're like, oh my god, this is wild. This kid was obviously killed in some sort of fight. But then, when you look at his teeth, if the fight didn't kill him, his tooth would have. Because he has this terrible abscess in his tooth. And it probably caused him a lot of pain. And he didn't get the dental care he needed. And we've learned all that just from one skeleton found in one grave. 1607. It was brutal. I loved how much one skeleton could tell you this much about a life. And that's the day I no longer wanted to be an animator, but an archaeologist. Thanks, Disney's Pocahontas. You were wrong about everything. Of course, after 2009, I had to leave the field of archaeology because there were no more jobs and I really liked paying my bills. Thanks, economic crash. Ha, we've achieved whole. How about we shine this sucker up? Now, for the final stage of shining, what you tended to use was red ochre, and you would polish it up on really, really fine stones or on a piece of leather, and that would give it a really shiny, smooth appearance. If I can open this. Curse you, plastics! You foil everything. Can you get me a scissor? Thank you. Again, cheating. Try to open this container up more. Who designed this? It's like you want me to lose a finger. Red ochre. So sort of dip the bead in it, get it nice and coated, get up a good amount onto the bead itself, and then you take up your leather. This is a deer skin I'm using for the occasion, and then you just start shining it up. Yeah, so on some of the beads you could actually find trace remains of red ochre in the grooves from being polished in this manner. So I'm not just making this up. I really want this one to look good for you folks at home. And that's it. That's a basket style based on a Paleolithic design. And it's a bead. And you can sew this into your garments. You can wear it. You can bury yourself with 6,000 of these. I mean, but only if you're into that, of course. So let's see how it compares to the real thing. Look, what do you want? It's been 12 years since I made one. Do you think anyone would buy this on Etsy? A huge thank you to Chandra, Johan Gustafsson, Mario B., William Christopher, and Xantha Pink. I know usually at this point you would see my face on screen, but this is Nux, my good little war boy. Look at that boy cat go. He's so cute. Look at him. Come on, get it. Get it. Get it. Bless. I just want to personally apologize to Italy. Even with how the glacier made landmass so much larger because there was just less water, this is an ugly, ugly representation of you, and you deserve better from me. Greece, you can just steal. Italy is the one I'm worried about. This is my favorite son. I'm joking, Greece, you're fine. You're like part of the family. You know what to do with an octopus, and that's what really matters.